All right. So I went out of my way here. I had to get Dr. Kiana Scott in for this podcast today. It's October 26th. It's 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. I like set it up to the satellite and I said, send her a text message. Where am I going to find her? Where are you at today?
So I am on a curb in Tucson, Arizona. I'm taking a break from canvassing. I'm here with about 150 Common Power volunteers from all over the place, including Arizona, who are out hitting the doors today. I'm doing some work this morning with my mother, Martha, who's canvassing for the first time in a while, and with
Wow.
amazing volunteers, Jesse and Dan. The three of them left me on this curb and are going and hitting some more doors while I take a moment to talk with you.
Yeah, they're probably like, yeah, that good, do the podcast, but we're moving on,
Yeah,
right?
they're busy. We got doors to knock. We got voters to talk to. We have a big Senate race in Arizona. We have a big U.S. House of Representatives race, and on the ballot here in Arizona, we also have Proposition 139, which is an opportunity to enshrine access to abortion rights in the Arizona Constitution. So lots of important stuff going on here. Obviously, a
Exactly.
presidential swing state.
Exactly. That last bit there, Prop 139, what's that again?
Yeah, Proposition 139 would enshrine abortion access in the Arizona Constitution. This is a big push in a state that has had some pushback against reproductive care access. So this is a big initiative, really being watched closely around the country.
Okay. And that's what I wanted you to hear for to talk about. You have a lot of expertise on a lot of things, but particularly you are dialed in, have wisdom around the power of reproductive freedoms as an important freedom and also as an important strategic issue for the
Mhm.
Democrats. And what I want to do is turn this podcast into a short little analysis of how I think or how it may be that abortion rights are playing out in this election. Okay. And so I'm going to, for a couple minutes here, just share a couple slides that I put together, pulling together some different pieces from some talks I've done and also some really recent updates in this election. And it's possible Charles Douglas will join us along the way here. Okay. And then I want to get, of course, your reactions and your thoughts about all of this. Okay. All right. For a brief moment, I need to go back in time to a very painful moment, the Dobbs decision in 2022. So on June 24th, 2022, in a 6-3 majority decision on the Supreme Court written by Samuel Alito, who has surpassed Clarence Thomas, in my estimation, as the most vile individual on the Supreme Court, and that's a tough standard, right? That's a tough standard. Uh, this was the summary of the decision, the Dobbs decision, Dobbs representing the state of Mississippi. And Jackson, because Dobbs was the person prosecuting this case, the Jackson Women's Health Organization was arguing in Jackson, Mississippi, that they should be able to run their abortion rights clinic. And the decision held that the Constitution does not confer a right to abortion. Roe v. Wade and the Casey 1992 decision are overruled, and the authority to regulate abortions returned to the people and their elected representatives. That's a summary. That last clause is an interesting frame, right? About this notion of returning it to the people and their elected representatives, which has been the argument by those who support this decision that, oh, we're just letting the public weigh in. In this decision, there's a famous phrase in here where Alito writes, our decision returns the issue of abortion to those legislative bodies, and it allows women on both sides of the abortion issue to seek to affect the legislative process by influencing public opinion, lobbying legislators, voting, and running for office. Women are not without electoral or political power. It is noteworthy that the percentage of women who register to vote and cast ballots is consistently higher than the percentage of men who do so. That's right, Alito. That's right. Um, so a couple of things that show us the impact of Dobbs. This is some Gallup polling data over time, all the way back from the 1990s, and it's about abortion. With respect to the abortion issue, would you consider yourself to be pro-choice or pro-life? It's a little tough to see on these slides, but the top line, which is in green, and the bottom, which is in blue, these colors chosen by Gallup. The top line, the green one, says we support abortion rights, and the bottom line is we oppose abortion rights. They're quite a bit apart in the mid-1990s, but then they come together very closely over time. And I stop it right there, right before the Dobbs decision. You can see how close they are in public opinion. This is public opinion, but there's no quote unquote national threat to Roe v. Wade as this timeline unfolds. The Dobbs decision changes that. And with the Dobbs decision, we get this separation and this larger public saying, we support abortion rights. We support the pro-choice position. And when you begin to unpack pro-choice and the opposing abortion rights positions, it's that 54% rises even higher for at least protections for the first trimester or for the first 20 weeks. In 2022, I'm sorry, in 2022 and in 2023, 7 states have voted on abortion initiatives. And in all of those, the pro-choice position has won the position. In blue states like California, Michigan, and Vermont, and in red states like Montana and Nebraska, Montana, Kansas, Kentucky, and Ohio. So the public is clearly on one side of this issue in a majority. This particular election, states are on the ballot. States have abortion initiatives on the ballot in 10 states, including Arizona, where you are, Dr. Kiana. It's in 10 states, and we could easily see these initiatives make a political difference, an electoral difference in Arizona, in Nevada, in Montana, in Colorado, in Nebraska, in New York, where we win back the House, in Maryland, where Angela also Brooks wins as a senator, possibly in Florida. I think it'll pass in Florida. Will it make a political difference? Not really sure. But it's on the ballot in 10 different states. Kamala Harris, as you have talked about on this podcast before, is running a campaign unabashedly supportive of reproductive freedoms. Last night in Houston, she gave her strongest speech on a pro-freedom, pro-choice, pro-abortion rights position, really a single-issue speech in Houston after having the endorsement beforehand of the global pop star Beyoncé, who spoke also about the importance of freedom for women. So it is a major issue in this election. And I just want to share a couple things. This is Trump this morning. You know, Trump could not say something after last night. This is Trump this morning. Abortion has dropped way down as an issue, Donald says, all right? States are already giving it to the people to vote, which is what everyone wanted. Like Ronald Reagan, I believe in the exceptions, yada, yada, yada. Many states are already done and others are moving to a vote now. A 52-year contentious issue will finally be coming to a close. I don't think so, Donald. Okay, here's some data from yesterday about women voting in this election. And clearly it's not only women that care about abortion rights. We know that, but I want to just focus on women because I got this tweet available. 9.5 million early votes cast so far in the 7 swing states, and women have voted more than men by 10%. All right. The gender turnout gap is 14% in Michigan, 13 in Pennsylvania, 12 in Georgia, 10 in Wisconsin, 9 in North Carolina, 4 in Arizona, -2 in Nevada. Good for Harris. Christopher Webb says, wonder how this compares to 2020. And Kessler says it's similar. Reminder, we won in 2020. All right. I'm not going to show this clip at this moment, but Harry Enton on CNN about a week and a half ago showed a clip that finds, you can see the numbers here if you're paying attention. Those numbers are +9, +6, +7, +1 for Republicans, the Republican candidate over the last 4 presidential elections. And those numbers reflect the support of white women voters. And Trump is at the lowest in their polling this year of support for white women voters. It's possible white women voters will vote in a majority for a Democratic candidate this election, which would be the first time that's ever happened. All right. And last night in Houston, Beyoncé said, I'm here as a mother. a mother who cares deeply about the world my children and all of our children live in, a world where we have freedom to control our bodies, a world where we're not divided. So I wanted to get your perspective on the importance of last night's speech and the importance of abortion as an issue in this election, Dr. Kiana.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to unpack here, right? If we were back in class, we would be talking about this as a rich text, because Kamala Harris chose to give this speech in Texas, which is not a
Right.
presidential swing state this year. It is the first state where there was a heartbeat ban after Roe was knocked down. So the state of Texas in 2022 basically instated a 6-week abortion ban. Most people who are pregnant don't know they're pregnant at 6 weeks unless you are tracking things really, really closely, unless you were perhaps intentionally trying to get pregnant. 6 weeks is nothing in pregnancy. That was a devastating, devastating bill. This is a big issue around the country. Kamala Harris knows that. She chose to have this conversation in a state where that is a very important issue, even though it is a state that she is not going to win, because she wanted to bring attention to this. This was not just a night about electing Kamala Harris president and winning Texas's electoral votes. This was a night about focusing her message and spreading that message nationally, using Texas as sort of a bullhorn. Beyoncé along for the ride and not literally, but figuratively singing her praises. Awesome. And I have a car about to drive by, so I'm going to pause for a second. Because again, I'm on a curb in Tucson. There's a big Senate race in Texas. Colin Allred is running against Ted Cruz. This is going to help galvanize voters for that race. This is
I
going to help
think
with some down
Allred
ballot
does have a
issues.
shot. Allred, I think, does have a chance.
I think so too. And I think this is also building, certainly not starting with, but helped immensely by Beto O'Rourke in 2018, in 2022, I believe. Texas is moving in what I would say is the right direction. We're going to get there someday. We're not going to get there at the presidential level this year, but she wasn't trying to have that conversation. She was trying to really inject abortion access into the national conversation because it's there, and you can see from that presumably Truth Social quote you pulled from Trump. He doesn't want to talk about this. He is not on the winning side. People do not like his position. Abortion is a top issue for 1 in 8 voters in the United States. It is a top issue that has a potential to really, really sway elections. She's been talking about this since the very beginning. This has been by far the most sort of signature issue of her presidential campaign. It's a major differentiator between her and Donald Trump.
Let's stop there for a second.
Yeah.
So I know that in the blue wall states of Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, it is the top issue among women voters. Yeah. All right. It is the top issue among women voters in that state. And last night, the entire event was wrapped in mothers speaking about their experience with almost dying, losing a child, them almost dying, them losing a child, their husbands speaking as well about the devastation of these abortion bans.
Really echoing some of the themes that she brought out in the Democratic National Convention, right? Some of those same speakers were there. Some of those same or similar stories have really been infused throughout her campaign. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
So let's and Charles Douglas has come in here. I think Charles is out there. He'll come on when he's got a chance. I know he's
out here in Tucson too.
Exactly. He's out there. He's galvanizing the group and calling shots. So here's the question I want to ask you. Ethically, I believe that this is the right position to hold and the right issue to emphasize. But strategically, I want to ask you, because you're someone who understands the strategy of politics. You've studied it, you've participated in it, you and your political and public work engage in strategic advising to organizations, to people. So why would the Democrats and why would Harris bank so much on this issue?
That's a great question, and I think there are at least two ways that I'm going to answer that. And the first is that I imagine Kamala Harris, like many women, is frustrated that this hasn't been a bigger issue in the past. Um, but also, this is the most essential issue following the knockdown of Roe v. Wade, following the Dobbs decision. This is the first presidential election since there has been
Right.
since this is even a conversation in the same way. So it hasn't been as big a topic in the past, and it is so timely and so relevant now. And when Joe Biden was the presumptive nominee, he wasn't talking about it. This wasn't the conversation. There was an emptiness where there should have been focus on this. Kamala Harris has recognized that void. She stepped up as vice president when she wasn't the top of the ticket to really claim this as an issue. But as our nominee, she has been focused on this from the very beginning because it needs to be talked about and because it's winning. So that's the first piece. The second piece is we've seen that this works. I mean, you showed that map in those 8 states that have all at the state level voted on abortion access previously. Red states and blue states, they're all voting in favor of it. There's no differentiation. We are seeing hard red states vote in favor of this. This is a winning issue across the board. So it makes sense to focus on it. She's someone who can focus on it. And we also, I mean, it feels so simplistic to say that it matters, but it matters. This is such a core issue for so many voters, for so many women. I think people are so disappointed. I'm hearing from a lot of women who fought for equality in the 70s and the 80s that they can't imagine their daughters, their granddaughters having fewer rights than they had. And I think that's really true. I think this is a very clear example of a right that has been stripped, that people are feeling the loss of. And so there's something just very visceral about not having the ability to make one of the most fundamental decisions in your life, which is how and if you want to have a child.
Yeah.
So I think it's a bunch of
Yeah.
things. Hi,
Yeah.
Charles.
So, hey, where are you?
I'm near a golf course on a curb.
Okay.
Uh, my car ditched me. They're going and knocking doors while I'm having this conversation.
Okay. So we got to get you back out there shortly.
Yeah.
I'm just here to second everything that Kiana just said that I just heard, and also before I even got on, because I know for sure it's some good stuff. It's some good stuff. On that last point, the only thing I would add is this is, when we go to houses, we are knocking on doors and we're looking for the woman. And it's because this is the issue that's going to get us swing voters, independent, registered independents, and also Republicans. A ton of Republican voters. Kamala Harris is going to win this election because she's going to swing Republicans our way. And their top issue, mostly women, but a bunch of men also supporting them, is this issue. This is it. This is the like the jump the shark moment for a lot of voters was the Dobbs decision and them doubling, tripling down in states after kicking the decision to states. It's just they are going too far, and it's not even. I mean, it could have been a nuanced legal stance on this. They could have created laws that have had a bunch of exceptions. They could have done things that got more voters in the middle, and yet they chose the most extreme views. And all of the old school Republicans, folks like Ted Cruz, and I say old school, I just mean pre-Trump, they also tacked to the right, and they were like, yes, abortion with no exceptions. It's like they're asking for it. So the doors that we're talking to, the people that are going to move our way, the people who are going to swing these votes, the women of the spouses of the husbands who answer the door, the MAGA husbands who answer the door, the young daughters, the young children in general on these doors that we're knocking on, they're going to be the ones to swing this election because of this issue. Go ahead, David.
Well, I want to go back to you two. I just want to, for the last couple minutes here on the pod today, I want to just focus on you two. I want to come back to you, Kiana, and say, do you think this issue is prying away, what Charles just said, prying away Republican women from voting for Trump?
Yeah, I do. And we're seeing that, right? He is just too extreme on this issue. As Charles said, this is alienating. He gets up there. He just said at a rally, I think yesterday, that he wants to control our hearts and our minds and every other parts of your body. And that is so gross. That is so gross. And I think all sorts of people are recognizing that is just a bridge too far. The flip side of that is that Kamala Harris is accepting no concessions on her position. And she is articulating that forcefully. David, I think you and I had a conversation about this a couple of weeks ago about the way that she is performing her leadership and her authority. She is standing strong on this issue, and she is coming across as a leader who understands what's at stake, who is committed to looking out for not just voters, but for everyone in this country, and who has no time to waste on people who are trying to control other people. She's tied it very well back into the narrative of her campaign, which is, this freedom theme that's coming across in music, it's coming across in her messaging. Freedom over your body is one of the most fundamental rights we have. And she is painting a very clear picture that the other team wants to take that away and wants to control us, and that she does not stand for that.
Yeah, to both of you, she was asked right in an interview last week by, I think, on the NBC interview.
This was the Hallie, what's her face?
Yeah, Hallie Jackson.
Thank
interview. Hallie Jackson interview, where she said, what concessions would you make? This is the question to Kamala Harris. What concessions would you make to appeal to voters on the abortion issue? And, if she was purely out for votes at this moment on this issue, then she would have given some ground on that, right? But she did not. And so I know how strongly this matters to you, Kiana. And I know, so like in that moment when you're like, if you could pause the tape and before Kamala Harris answers, you'd be like yelling at the screen. You'd be like, don't do it, right? Don't do it. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. And she didn't do it, but she didn't even, it was clear that she never even thought about doing it. She did not couch that answer. She did not say, this is something I've really struggled with. She said, no fucking way. Okay. She was forceful. She was firm in her conviction. She looks like someone you can really trust to stand up for what she believes in and for what people want. That is such a direct contrast to not only to Trump, but from the way we've seen a lot of Democratic men in power talk about this issue, right? Who often say things like, yeah, I've struggled with this, or it takes a lot of thought. This is an issue of a lot of concern. For a lot of women, it isn't. For some it is, absolutely. But for some it isn't. For some it is very clear cut. My body, my choice. She is standing strong with that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And David, I would say that actually she got more votes by answering it the way she did and staying strong on it, actually. So I think that the first degree of understanding of politics is like, you just do whatever people want. I think that I don't know, we're entering into this new phase that is actually less about finding where the crowd is heading and jumping in front of them, and less patience for that kind of bullshit, actually.
She's
think
calling it out, right?
Well, she's calling it out, and I think that we've been pushed by Trump to actually be more strong in our beliefs. And I think it's maybe this is one of those things where, like, as we look back and study the era of this very polarized electorate, I think that the thing that is going to win this election is how strong she is on all of her stances and how much she defends our stances.
I mean,
Mm,
one of Trump's huge strengths is that there's no artifice to him, right? He calls it like he sees it. He follows his gut.
Sure.
I happen to think his gut is insane and wrong. So
Yeah.
I'm not advocating that we follow him, but I think Charles, you're spot on. People are sick of looking to leaders who are trying to see which way the wind is blowing before they make
Yeah.
really important decisions. In Kamala
Yeah.
Harris, we're seeing someone who has not only a tremendous track record of her own convictions and standing firm in her own beliefs, but is demonstrating that in real time for us right now. She's saying, I'm not compromising on this. This issue is too important for compromise. You can make your own choices, sure, but I'm not taking away anyone else's freedom.
mm, yeah. Yeah.
Um, David,
Okay.
I know we're gonna wrap this up, and you may have already said this already, but that rally is gonna be seen as, I mean, every piece of it, the place she chose, the timing of it, the people who she had speak, the way that she had the people speak, the the camera angles, the music, the like, it was almost like there were pieces of it. I was like, this is like the DNC. It wasn't just a regular news rally. There are pieces of that rally, the speech she gave, the way she gave the speech, that are going to be studied. This is like I think you mentioned it. It's awesome that we had the conversation about the brilliance of the campaign, because that stop is going to be, that's for the history books right there. That's for the textbooks in the
It's
future.
changed the whole conversation, right? 10 days out, that was a pivotal moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I watched live, and 2.5 million people were watching live on the live stream. All right. And when Beyonce came out, when she spoke after, is it her sister? That was right. Her sister who spoke first, and then Beyonce spoke. And
Not her actual sister, but yeah. Yeah.
oh,
Her
it's not.
Destiny's Child sister.
Kelly
No.
Rowland, but another
Okay.
performer
Her
from
So
Destiny's
sister in
Child.
music.
not actual. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Good. Thanks for clarifying that for me. Okay. All right.
It's okay, man. It's
Learning
okay.
all sorts of things
Uh,
on the podcast today.
yeah, also on the podcast yesterday when you said the bros, you know that Bruce Springsteen is not related to Barack Obama, right?
Yeah, of course. Yes, I
Okay.
do.
All right, just
Yeah.
checking, man. Just checking. Since we're on the topic, I just wanted to bring that up. All right,
Sure.
cool, cool, cool.
When Beyonce spoke, though, I practically was crying because I just knew what it meant for her to take
Yeah.
that position and to do that. And then she spoke to Houston. She called out all of these
Yeah.
parts of Houston,
Her
third ward, fifth
hometown,
Yes.
ward,
right? Her
right? Yeah.
hometown.
Yeah.
All the neighborhoods. Yeah, she changed the vernacular a little bit. Um, yeah, when she said I'm here as a mother, I was like, oh man, that's it right there. That's
Yep.
totally it. That's why she didn't perform. And I'm so glad she didn't perform because she didn't need to. And it would have turned it into a show. And she was really there to just speak as a mother, like she said. It was beautiful to see that. And like, to the point yesterday we were saying, Samuel Jackson that's not his thing. And this was not her thing. And you could totally tell. You could tell. So yeah, it
Yeah.
was awesome. And the way that Kamala went up to her afterwards, it was like I don't know if she said it, but she was like, I'm so proud of you. She was like, you did it. You did it. Good.
I want to end, Kiana, with your point about the strategic importance of Texas. So Beyonce is strategically important in hometown. Houston's her hometown, but Texas also ground zero for abortion rights and the restriction of freedoms, right? So over and over and over again, the Harris campaign goes to a certain location to highlight certain things. And
Yeah.
and that's the closing argument. 9 days to go, 10 days to go do that. She has now focused the argument on really the two things I think that we're coming home with. Freedom with abortion rights at the top of that, and democracy. And she's going to give that speech on the mall on Tuesday.
She's doing such a masterful job of creating these moments with, I mean, Charles, to your point, with the visuals, with the production value almost of really using everything, every single tool at her disposal and at her campaign's disposal to share her message as broadly as possible. I mean, thinking about that Texas event, that's the leading story of basically all news today, right? And even if Beyonce didn't perform, there are people out there who know that Beyonce was at that event, who probably went to watch it because Beyonce was there. They're now going to get information about how to vote. They're going to get used to seeing Kamala Harris in a position of leadership. All of that matters. Every single moment at this stage of the campaign matters. Every single door knocked matters. It's all adding up, and she's doing it just so beautifully.
Yeah. Hey, thanks a lot for joining me today on the pod, you guys, both of you. Thanks for your work in Arizona. That's the most important stuff. And thanks to everybody who's out there knocking doors and doing the work.
That's
right.
Yeah, it's a cool 97 degrees here, I think. So our canvassers are staying hydrated.
I had to move to the shade. I had to move to the shade. I see you got some shade there too.
Yeah,
let's get back to it.
It's a hot day, but there are really good conversations. And we're gonna elect Kamala Harris, and we're gonna pass Proposition 139 out here.
Okay. Thank you both. See ya.
Thanks. Bye.
See ya.